The day I stopped believing in my family wasn't the day they insulted me. It was the day I discovered I didn't legally exist in my own home anymore. My name is *Lena Carter ***, and until last year I thought I understood what family meant. We weren't perfect, but we were together. At least, that's what I believed. My father passed away 2 years ago. After that, everything in our house changed quietly, like someone slowly dimming the lights in a room while pretending nothing is happening. I remember the reading of the will clearly. A small office, heavy silence, my mother sitting perfectly still, my older brother Daniel looking calm, too calm, and me sitting in the corner holding my hands tightly together thinking nothing could go wrong. The lawyer read the document once, then twice. Then he paused, and that pause changed my entire life. According to the papers, the family house, the only property my father owned, was left to my mother and my brother. My name wasn't there. I laughed at first. I actually laughed, thinking it was a mistake. "There must be another page," I said softly. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. "This is the complete document." Mother didn't look at me. Daniel didn't either. I remember my heartbeat getting louder than his voice. "I lived there too," I said. "I helped take care of Dad. I was here every day." Still silence. That was the moment I first felt it, the strange feeling that I was standing inside a story where I had been written out. At home that night, I asked my mother directly, "Why isn't my name on the deed?" She didn't even stop washing dishes. "You're married soon, Lena," she said casually. "You'll have your own life. Your brother needs stability." That sentence sounded normal on the surface, but it broke something inside me because I wasn't married, I wasn't leaving, and I had never been asked. From that day, small things started disappearing. First, my father's old study key, then access to the storage room, then my documents were misplaced. Slowly, I became a guest in my own home. Daniel started making decisions without me. Walls got repainted. Furniture was replaced. My father's books were boxed away. Every time I asked questions, the answer was the same. "You're overthinking." I wasn't. Something was wrong, and deep down, I could feel it. One evening, I overheard a conversation between my mother and Daniel in the kitchen. "We should make sure she doesn't start asking around," Daniel said. My mother replied, "She won't. She's too emotional for legal things." That word emotional was used like a weapon. Like it automatically made everything I said less real. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I did something I had never done before. I started digging old documents, archived emails, bank statements, anything I could find. Most of it was locked away or missing, but one thing stood out, a faded copy of an earlier property draft from years ago. And there it was, my name clear, present, included. I stared at it for a long time, my hands shaking. So the question was why I was removed asterisk. The question was when asterisk, and more importantly, who changed it. Asterisk. The next morning, I went to the family lawyer's office alone. The same man who had read the will. He looked surprised to see me. "I need to see all versions of my father's will," I said firmly. He hesitated. "That's not something I can just—" "I have the right," I interrupted. Something in my tone must have changed because after a long pause, he finally agreed. What he showed me made my stomach drop. There were multiple drafts, but one version stood out. A final updated document, signed only weeks before my father's death. And in that version, my name was missing, not erased carelessly, removed cleanly, professionally. Like someone knew exactly what they were doing. I looked at the lawyer. "Who brought you this version?" He hesitated again, then said quietly, "Your brother." Stopped inside me. That was the first time I felt fear. Not emotional fear, but the kind that comes when you realize someone close to you has been planning something you never saw coming. When I left the office, I didn't go home. Instead, I went somewhere I hadn't been in years, the city archives. A quiet building filled with old records, property files, scanned documents. Everything people forget exists until they need proof. I asked for access to historical property transfers of my father's estate. The clerk looked at me strangely. "That's very specific." "I know what I'm looking for," I replied. Hours passed, dust, paper, silence, until finally I found it. A sealed entry request filed months before my father died. And the requester named Daniel Carter, my brother. My breath stopped. The document wasn't just about inheritance. It was a property restructuring request. Something people use to legally adjust ownership before death for tax or control reasons. But what made my hands shake was the attached note. "Remove secondary beneficiary due to future relocation plans." Beneficiary. That was me. I sat there for a long time, staring at the screen, trying to understand how someone I grew up with could plan my absence like a financial inconvenience. When I returned home that night, the house felt different, quieter. Heavier, Daniel was in the living room. He looked at me immediately. "You went somewhere today," he said, not a question, a statement. I didn't answer. He stood up slowly. "You're making this complicated, Lena." That's when I knew he knew I had started digging. "I just want the truth," I said. He smiled slightly, not warmly, but tired. "The truth is simple. You were never meant to stay in that house forever." Voice shook. "That's not your decision." Stepped closer. "It became my responsibility after Dad couldn't think clearly anymore." That sentence changed everything, because now it wasn't just about documents, it was about manipulation, timing, control, and my father's final months suddenly didn't feel right anymore. That night I couldn't stay silent. I returned to the archives one more time, and I asked for something deeper, medical-adjacent legal filings connected to my father's estate. At first, they refused. Then I showed them the document, and after a long pause, they allowed access. What I found there made my world collapse. There were repeated legal consultations requested during my father's last illness, and almost every major decision was signed or approved when he was heavily medicated, not fully aware, not fully stable, and always with Daniel present. The realization didn't come like a shock. It came like silence, cold, slow, unavoidable. My father hadn't simply changed his will. One had guided him into changing it. The next morning, I walked back into my house for the last time as a daughter. Daniel was waiting. "I know," I said before he could speak. My mother froze in the hallway. I placed copies of every document on the table, archive records, draft wills, legal filings, everything. The room didn't explode. It didn't turn dramatic like movies. It just went still. My mother sat down slowly. Daniel didn't move. Finally, he said, "You shouldn't have gone looking for that." The first time I saw something behind his confidence, not anger, fear, because truth doesn't shout, it simply exists. And once it appears, everything built on lies starts to crack. I didn't argue anymore. I didn't cry. I just said, "I want my rightful record restored, legally, fully, no more silence." Voice didn't shake this time, because for the first time I wasn't asking, I was stating. Weeks later, the case reopened quietly. Paperwork was reviewed again, and slowly corrections began. My name returned where it had been removed, not because someone gave it back to me, but because it was never truly gone. It was only hidden. And sometimes, that's the difference between losing something and being erased. If this story stayed with you, you'll find more calm yet powerful stories here on *Emily Calm Stories. Stay connected, and I'll see you in the next one.